Jets chaos. We've
Yeah.
talked about the defense. You gave the defense a full A. You said they were going to be one of the top three defenses in the league. I agree with you. It's super exciting, and they've upgraded in all categories. Now let's talk about the offense. What room would you like to start with?
The offensive line.
The offensive line. Okay, so first talk about who was on the offensive line last year and what grade you would give them.
Okay, so we had Dwayne Brown who was playing without being able to lift his left arm above his shoulder. All right.
No.
Look, he's a warrior, he's a hero, but he was crippled. I mean, he was playing in severe pain and he was not nowhere the Pro Bowl left tackle that we're used to. Yet he still was the best option we had, which is just all the kudos in the world to him. In the left guard position, we had the very disappointing Lakin Tomlinson. Now, just to understand, I'm not trying to make excuses and being a Homer Jet fan or whatever, but the reality is he had a very close personal family loss. He was, so emotionally, he was not the same guy. He also was not able to move his family, so he was without them. And he had mentioned that some people that takes a toll on them to not have their child, their children, their wife. So that was a lot of reasons why. Some of the reasons why there was some reason to believe that it could be that these were factors in his play and that it wasn't that he's finished or he's not capable of doing more. And I think now that his family's with him, now that he's had time, we're all hopeful that we're going to see a better Lakin Tomlinson. Not to mention just more consistency on the line in general. We had McGovern, who is a solid center. He's not special, he's solid. So what that means is he's available. He's our only offensive lineman that's always available. He has been for the last couple of years. And he's gotten a little bit better in the system each year, shown improvement. He's a good dude. He knows he's experienced. He's a veteran, top 12 center in the NFL. So there's nothing wrong at all with Connor McGovern. Now it's the right side where we had the problems, right? Right from the beginning, Becton got hurt. Then Mitchell comes in. He's a rookie. He wasn't supposed to play year one. Then he gets hurt throughout the season. At one point, ABT had to come out and start playing tackle for people. First on the left side for Dwayne Brown. Then on the right side, he's flipping positions. Heroic, but gets hurt. Right. So now he's out. And then, obviously Mitchell came out. Then we have like a guy, a Wawu, I can't even say his name. And then he gets hurt. So we're just sticking in bodies at this point. Connor McDermott. It got really ugly with AVT out. We were putting Feeney in and all kinds of just people off the junk pile. And it was a mess. It wasn't the fault of Joe Douglas, I don't think. I mean, people could argue he could have had more depth. I think we had depth, but who gets used? Like who could be prepared? What team could survive that many injuries? And you saw us fall apart at the end of last year. But overall, because of the injuries, I have to say D plus.
If they had stayed healthy, would you still say D plus?
No,
Looking at
there's
the
no.
personnel, looking at the personnel.
No, it's not at all that. It was injuries. I mean, we were 5 tackles deep at one point. At one point, it was unrecognizable, our offensive line. There was a portion of the season where Dwayne Brown was out, AVT was out, Beckett had been out the whole year, and we were decimated, just decimated with injuries. But it's not about the individual players, but that was the play.
Yeah.
Like the last 5, 6, 7 games of the year were it was unmanageable.
Okay, so as you move to this year, I want you to take into account the fact that there are going to be injuries. So when you give that grade, you can't just give it to the top guys because there are going to be some injuries. So you have to look at the depth in giving the grade, right?
And I'm very excited about that. Well, I'll explain why.
Yeah,
Right.
go for it, buddy.
So let's start with the fact that Becton's back and looks as dominant as ever. And now he's on the right side. He feels great. And he looks like the Becton that we all know and loved as a rookie. So That right away is such a tremendous step for us. I mean, you can't. It's hard. It's completely just such a giant step for the right side, especially with AVT coming back from his injury. So you have two incredible run blocking guys, an incredible run blocking guard and an incredible run blocking tackle right next to each other. And when I say incredible, I mean top of the league, like in the top handful for that, and both very good pass protectors, right? But really, they pancake people, they run over people. Then you got your solid Connor, who's there, but now we even, if you want to talk about depth, we have Joe Tippmann, who very could have easily been named the starter the way he played. He looks great. Then you have at guard Laken Tomlinson, who could only be better, right? If you look at his whole career, he can only regress. I mean, he had a horrible play on the touchdown to Rodgers to Wilson, but I found out that was an audible. It was a run play. It wasn't because of a physical skill thing. It was literally a miscommunication thing where he popped forward for a running play. So at least that's a fixable thing. It wasn't that he just wasn't able to play the position. And he was great on every other rep. I mean, like a wall in pass protection. If you look at the first two drives of the preseason game against the Giants, every play he was rock solid. He was excellent, except for that one play with the miscommunication. So I'm happy with him there. He's off to a good start. And I think with a healthy Dwayne Brown, that's going to make a big difference for him. Now let's go into the depth. You have Joe Tippmann, who looked great at both left guard and center. He was literally churning people, physically churning people, manhandling people, getting to the second level, all the reasons we drafted him. So I feel very comfortable if he has to come in. And knowing that either of the guards or the center gets hurt, Tippmann could come in. He could play any of those positions. Very solid feeling. Then we got the Schweitzer guy, who's also very versatile. He could play center. He could play either guard position. He has lots of game experience. It's not the guy you want to see in there, right? You don't want it to happen, but he's not a guy off the junk pile. He's not a desperate practice squad off of somebody's practice squad guy. He's a legitimate player, a legitimate backup. So I love the depth on the inside. Then when you go to the outside, you got Mitchell, who we saw. He hasn't fully recovered from the blood clots. He has not fully recovered, and it showed. But he's getting a little bit better each week. They said he was improving, and we got we got him, and we got Turner, who got a really bad rap because in the beginning of camp he was getting used to the new system and new players. He was really bad. What everybody is overlooking is the last two preseason games he did very well and got very high scores. So Turner's going to be okay. Now, here's the really exciting part. They're not necessarily our next option. Our first option, if Becton or Dwayne gets injured for any real amount of time, AVT could switch over to tackle. So if Dwayne Brown was to get injured, you could move Becton to the left side, AVT right tackle. Then you bring in Joe Tippmann and vice versa. So there's a lot of depth now. I feel a lot better about this offensive line. And if we stay healthy, knock on wood, I really am excited about the potential of this offensive line. When Laken Tomlinson is your biggest concern, and you look at the years he had, the experience he's had, and the issues he was facing last year, that is not a bad situation for us to be in, especially when you got Joe Tippmann sitting right behind him.
Since I've been a football fan, I have always said offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. I'm a believer if you have an offensive line, all the running backs are much better stars, and the quarterback looks fantastic. So offensive line is everything. And when you say D minus last year, that explains a lot. Where are you with them this year in a grade?
I think they go up to a B, which would be great. It would be very, very solid, especially when you're talking about running backs like Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. That's all they need is a B. They do not need the Indianapolis offensive line from 2 years ago. They don't need that kind of offensive line.
And on the right side, you might even say it's a B plus A minus in the running game.
It could be a very special circumstance for Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook and even Michael Carter with the way that right side looks if it stays healthy. And yeah, I think that with the depth that we have, the reason why I'm holding back of better than a higher score than a B is because Laken Tomlinson is a question mark. Dwayne Brown is 39 years old. That left side has some questions. If McGovern stays the starter, he is just solid, but he's not special. Nothing that's gonna like it makes me see, unless they can prove me wrong, that they're going to be a top offensive line. But I will say they have potential to be very good. And again, I'll say it again. I said the running backs do not need an A offensive line. They could excel, be explosive, be very effective with a B offensive line, especially Brees Hall, because he was doing it last year with worse. And then Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback does not need an A offensive line, right? He's not one of these young quarterbacks that come in, and if you don't give them 4 seconds, they're not going to be able to succeed. Aaron Rodgers is a guy, you give him a B offensive line, and he's going to just dice other teams. He's going to dissect them, especially with a good running game. So I'm super excited if this offensive line could be a B offensive line.
I'm excited too. So excited, I'm going to say, go
Go
Jets!
Jets!